Hey everybody, Brian Good here on this Wednesday, out of the suit here at the moment because I'm back in the station for a meeting coming up here soon. Let's get right to it. Obviously, the big issue is going to be the tropical low here across the I-10 corridor, how it's going to be having its moisture funneled ahead of the cold front that is moving through the upper Midwest at the moment. Heading in our direction here. As that takes place, it'll scoop up all that tropical moisture. This is going to become more of an open wave more than anything as it does pass through, so we'll be monitoring that. Also at the same time, by the way, because the front is not exactly north-south, it's kind of angled, it is also able to pull in the moisture here across the southern part of the Rockies, leftover of a tropical system, Javier, back into the eastern Pacific. So it too is getting funneled ahead of the front. So we got a double whammy, really a triple if you consider the front. So, having said that, we're just now at the beginning stages of all that mess taking place. In the short term, we're going to be dealing with just the influence of tropical moisture in the area and really just kind of keep an eye on the radar trends, because with such a moist flow moving through the area, day and night, there's going to be a potential for a downpour at any time, like we saw at 4 o'clock in the morning for today. We got activity now showing up across Dubois County, some lightning being detected, another little surge, a little ripple in the atmosphere looks to be moving in across our southern counties. In fact, when you look at the SPC analysis map, or the temperatures, by the way, we're in the mid-80s at the moment. I think we'll get to about 90 or so before thunderstorms cut us off. It's hard to read this map. This is the meso analysis map from SPC. Louisville's right here. When we see these red lines being drawn up, it tells us where we will likely see development of thunderstorms in the coming hours. So that little ripple that's now moving in southern Kentucky is likely going to lead to our development of thunderstorms very close to Louisville, between Louisville and Bardstown. I would say in the next couple of hours that will move in here for the afternoon period. As far as severe weather goes, again, not really concerned about that this afternoon. We don't have all the ingredients in play for that. If there's going to be strong gusty thunderstorms, I think it's going to be around Nashville, maybe up to Dare County could get a strong thunderstorm, but most of us will be dealing with just heavy rain makers. Okay, so let's talk about the heavy rainfall that we'll have in the area. First off, here's the European model. It's focusing the main band of heavy rain. This is all the way through Tuesday, a grand total. Now, keep in mind, this particular version of the Euro is a poor grid, so it's kind of generalizing the total. So even just by generalizing, it's giving us close to 3 to 4 inches of rain. It doesn't see this particular run of it, or example of the Euro, does not give us specific high-res data that some of the online Euro data, if you guys are able to pay for that site that's located on the Weather Bell, the high-res data is much more alarming when it comes to rain totals, nearly double than the amounts we're showing here. GFS, by the way, is coming in. Same deal. It doesn't have a poor grid on this particular version. But even through Monday, you see what it's doing. It's focusing the heavy rain band more along the front. And that appears to be the issue. The front is going to approach the area as we head into Friday night and Saturday. So between now and then, just your general thunderstorms popping on the radar like we're dealing with today. But Friday and Saturday, more focused areas of bands of thunderstorms will begin to approach. And then the front is going to put the brakes on as it approaches the Ohio River. And then we're going to see just multiple waves of energy right along that front, enhancing the rainfall. Question is, how far is the front going to get, Saturday to Sunday especially, before these little ripples right along it? If it ends up being a situation where the front's really moving slow, moving through the Wabash and just in southern Indiana, then Indiana is going to take the brunt of all these ripples moving through, and the main heavy rain bands will be centered there. If the front makes it all the way into Kentucky, central Kentucky, then it'll be central Kentucky and far southern Indiana. They'll take the brunt of these bands of heavy rain. The models still are not in good agreement on that. That's why I'm not going to go into specific ranges yet on rain totals for this event. I'm just going to say in general 3 inches or more is likely this kind of a setup. Where is key and how much exactly on the ranges, I just can't go there yet. And if I did give ranges, you guys would look at the higher number anyway and go with that. And I don't want that impression yet. So it's only Wednesday. We've got another a good 48 hours of data to come through to really nail this down for us. So stay tuned for updates, but it is obviously concerning if we get that much rain, especially in our area. Not only can we deal with flash flooding when the rain bands are moving through, which is a possibility, but river flooding will become an issue. The Salt River, East Fork of the White River, and also Floyd's Fork will begin to rise. Kentucky River as well. So there's a lot of rivers to keep an eye on as we head through this weekend if these repeated bands of rain. Hopefully we get some breaks in between each little surge to where at least flash flooding can be kept at a minimum, and even the river flooding to an extent. But even the tributaries like the Salt River and Floyd's Fork and Beargrass may react. So be alert if you have basement issues where your basement floods a lot. Kind kind of a heads up here. You want to watch this forecast carefully. In addition to that, each one of these little ripples that move through can produce some gusty winds. They look to be below severe limits, but even a 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gust can cause power outages and tree damage because the ground's so soft, trees can easily topple, and especially with a weak root system. So it would surprise me here of tree damage, even with just a gusty shower moving through. So lots to monitor here. It's not looking to be a major event, but it is something that has the potential to cause some impact, significant ones potentially, on your plans for this weekend, and it can cause some problems too for our area, just in general, with travel and of course power outages and so forth. So that's the latest thinking on that part of things. I will say the Weather Prediction Center issued a statement, or issued their outlook this morning, and they keep upping this every time I look at it. But in general, between now and Tuesday night, the same time period, they're generalizing here about, I would say, 3 to 5 inches across our area. Almost a blend, a little bit of the Euro and GFS, but looks a little more like the Euro is what they are leaning toward. Okay, so stay tuned for updates on that. Now, let's give you a little bit of a nugget here when it comes to winter weather fans, Yubatsu fans. Jamstack, which is the Japanese model that comes out every year for winter. I'm a big fan of it. If you remember my early winter thoughts on July 13th, I believe it was, I was showing you how the warm waters here were still showing up around Alaska in the Eastern Pacific. Anytime, especially see them around Alaska, good signal for the chance for cold air to make it into the lower 48. And sure enough, that's what it showed. Now, I will say the latest update, and this is the latest update, it's still showing the warm water in Alaska and to the Pacific Ocean. Here's La Nina, by the way, a very weak one in the Central Pacific. But it is not as warm, only just a few degrees. It was roughly about, I would say, 1.5 to 2 degrees above average. And now it's averaging out closer to about the 1.2 range. That's not a big drop. I mean, a couple categories down. But look what happened when you take that couple categories downward, the effect on the actual temperature. Instead of having widespread below normal, colder weather, the normal weather for the upcoming winter, over a good chunk of the lower 48, mind you, it has now gone to a warmer pattern. In other words, the oceans are very sensitive. You change any minor details. There's other factors too that went into this, by the way. The PDL, which we'll discuss later on the winter outlook, but is also slightly different. But it tells us that it's very much a teetering winter when it comes to, there's a lot of influence. There's not one dominant influence this season that is going to give us a clear answer on how things are going to look, unlike the past couple of winters have really helped us out with. This year, there's so many factors that are just kind of right on the edge that winter can go either way. In other words, get your dartboards ready. I will be. Winter outlook. My thoughts on that coming out Halloween. Catch you then. I'll see you tomorrow morning.